And with us now, Kelly Rossman-McKinney, the founder of the Rossman Group, state's leading political PR agency. Had dinner with some fancy folks last night at the Chamber of Commerce Future Forum. Good morning to you.
Well, good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you?
So you were hanging around with presidential candidates and would-be presidential candidates and all the rest, huh?
Oh, I got to sit right next to Mike Huckabee last night at dinner. He was delightful.
This was at the Kellogg Center for the Chamber of Commerce Future Forum. We're really now tell us all about it. We hear that a little bit about what he talked about in his speech, but we want to know behind the scenes. What was on his mind?
Oh, he was fascinating to talk to, Michael Patrick. I mean, I knew he was kind of a gregarious guy, but this was like sitting down with one of our own. And I had not expected to be as enchanted by him as I was.
Mm-hmm.
But first and foremost, you and I talked about this yesterday. I watched very carefully what he ate because, he takes great pride in losing all that weight.
Yeah.
Here's the key to his success from what I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, and most important, no salad dressing.
Yeah.
Salt and pepper on the lettuce, and then I told him I was watching him carefully, and he looked at me and he said, "So no carrot cake?" I said, "Yeah, I wouldn't do it if I were you." So he didn't have carrot cake. But he was fun. We talked about how much time he spends in New York. He talked about how much he enjoys Michigan, and he talked a lot about growing up poor in Arkansas and the fact that when his parents bought him an electric guitar, he said, it was $99 out of the Sears catalog. They spent a year scraping money together to pay for it, and he said it made all the difference in the world to him, not just in terms of learning music, but before he got that guitar, he was a very shy, very introverted kid, and he's not any of that now.
Yeah, he's a funny man and a musician and everything else. And in fact, he's told me that story about the guitar on the radio because he wrote about it in his book, too. It was a Christmas present, and he thought he wasn't going to get it because he was petulant about it. He, as he told it to me, he told his parents, "I want that guitar for Christmas or I don't want anything at all." And they said, "Okay,
exactly right.
You're going to get nothing at all then." And so he fully expected on Christmas morning to get nothing. And he did get the guitar, and then he later found out that it took something like a year's worth of payments by his parents to make it happen, and it's a heartwarming story, to be sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the other thing, Michael Patrick, and I did not realize that you and I both have a lot in common with him, and that is, number one, he was a broadcaster very, very early in life. He had his first full-time job, when he was about 14 years old.
Wow.
And he started in broadcasting, and then he worked in an ad agency for a couple of years. And then he veered off the path you and I are because he became a minister. I'm thinking that might not be on our career path right now. I could be wrong. And then he went into politics, and he said, I was just this sort of nobody knew me lieutenant governor way on the other end of the in a wing opposite where the governor was. Nobody paid any attention to me, and suddenly I'm the governor. He became governor midterm when his predecessor was indicted or whatever for Whitewater. I should know that, but I wasn't paying a lot of attention. But he said, suddenly everybody was my new best friend.
Yeah, I bet.
Welcome to politics.
Yeah, that's why, for one thing, I won't ever be a minister probably. They won't let me. And two, I'd never have any interest in running for politics, mainly because I can't ask people for money. I have a hard time even asking people that owe me money for money. And that's job number one, isn't it, if you're in politics?
Oh, yeah, you would have to get over that in a New York minute, honey. You've got to be able to ask people for money. And let me just tell you why. If you don't believe enough in yourself to ask people to invest in you, then why should anyone else believe that much in you? That's the Rossman-McKinney philosophy, not necessarily the Mike Huckabee philosophy.
Does Mike Huckabee believe in himself enough to go ahead and run for president again? Somebody at the table must have asked him that.
Well, I'll tell you, we were very polite. Even I was polite, and you know how out of character that is. But my seatmate on my other side was John Schroeder, who's with, I think it's First Bank at Kalamazoo. And John said, so when was the last time you were in Iowa? And he started laughing. He said, well, I haven't been there since I ran for president in 2008. And I said, oh, that was diplomatic. He said, I'm not answering the question. But I got to tell you, philosophically, Michael Patrick, I was surprised at how many of the things he said I bought into. And they were basic life philosophies. These weren't partisan treatises. He had really two key messages. One was steer into the curves ahead. Don't look behind you. Steer into the curves ahead and prepare for the future. Don't worry about what happened. You know, you can't deal with that. And then the other one was do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And he said, you know, if we just had a pact that we renewed every year,
we'd all be better off, according to Mike Huckabee. A little bit of practical wisdom there from a man who may be running for president. Thank you, Kelly, very much. Great report. 14 before the hour.